Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about Ayurveda and more specifically, the doshas.
That's right.
Now, I know a lot of our listeners are probably already familiar with the doshas, but, I think sometimes it's really good to go back to basics and really try to understand something as fundamental as this in a deeper way.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people think of Ayurveda as a little woo-woo or out there, but actually it's a really practical system.
Yeah, for sure. And it can help us make choices in our lives that help us, be more in balance.
Exactly. It's all about understanding your unique constitution.
Yeah. So let's start with what exactly are doshas?
Well, they're these like biological energies, right? Or
Yeah.
blueprints that influence your physical, mental, and emotional characteristics.
Interesting.
And they're derived from the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. And everybody has a unique combination of the three primary doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
Okay, so how do these combinations, how do they actually manifest? How do we understand, what that means for us?
Well, this combination, the unique combination of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, determines your Prakriti,
Prakriti.
which is your individual constitution. So it's basically your unique blueprint for health and well-being.
That's fascinating. So is it like having a dominant dosha that shapes our Prakriti, or is it more intricate than that?
You know, it's really more nuanced than just having one dominant dosha. It's more like a recipe, right? With varying proportions of each dosha.
A recipe. I like that.
So, for example, you might have a Vata Pitta Prakriti, meaning both Vata and Pitta are pretty prominent. And that blend would influence everything from your physical traits to your emotional tendencies.
Okay, so where do we even begin to understand these doshas? For someone who's just starting out, how would you explain it?
I think a good place to start is just by looking at each dosha individually. So let's begin with Vata.
Okay.
Vata is governed by air and space, and it's all about movement, like the wind.
Yeah.
Vata types tend to be quick, adaptable, creative.
I see. So there's that sense of airiness.
Exactly. But they can also be prone to anxiety and feeling a little bit ungrounded if their Vata is imbalanced.
Makes sense. That kind of makes me think of the wind, right? Always moving, kind of unpredictable.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what about Pitta? What makes that dosha tick?
Well, Pitta is governed by fire and water, and it's all about transformation and metabolism.
Oh,
So it's like the sun's energy driving our ambition, our passion. Pitta types are intelligent, strong digestion, and they tend to have natural leadership skills. But if Pitta is imbalanced, they can be prone to anger or frustration.
oh, so that fire element really comes through. So you've got Vata as the air, Pitta as fire. What about Kapha? What element does Kapha embody?
Kapha is like the steady mountain,
The steady man. Okay, got it.
grounded in earth and water. It's all about structure, stability, endurance.
Okay.
Kapha types are typically calm, nurturing, and physically strong. But if their kapha is out of balance, they might experience lethargy, weight gain, or have some resistance to change.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm starting to see how these elements really play a role, but how do we determine which dosha or combination is the most prominent in us?
Well, Ayurveda really encourages self-observation, right?
Yeah.
You want to notice your physical traits, your personality tendencies, any recurring health issues that you have.
Okay, so kind of like putting together a puzzle.
Exactly. You're piecing it together to reveal your unique dosha makeup.
Gotcha. So, for example, how would you distinguish between, say, a Vata and a Pitta type just by looking at them?
So someone with a predominantly Vata constitution, they might be thin, have dry skin, and often struggle with things like anxiety or digestive issues. On the other hand, someone with a lot of Pitta, they might have more ruddy complexion, they could be prone to anger, and experience things like acid reflux.
Interesting. So it sounds like it goes beyond just physical and personality traits. These doshas actually influence our health in different ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, but before we get into how doshas impact our health, I'm curious about the elements themselves. How do earth, fire, water, how do those translate into these specific dosha characteristics?
That's a really great question. It's all about the gunas, right?
The gunas.
Which are the qualities that are associated with each element. For example, air is light, dry, and mobile,
Okay.
which explains why Vata types are often thin, have dry skin, and they're always on the move, both physically and mentally.
I see. So it's not just the element itself, it's those qualities that are associated with it.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So fire, for instance, is hot, sharp, and intense. And that translates into Pitta's sharp intellect, strong digestion, and sometimes, like you said, their fiery temper.
Exactly. And then we have Kapha, With the earth and water elements, they're heavier, more stable, and that's reflected in their calm demeanor and their strong build.
Wow, this is really fascinating. It makes so much sense when you start to break it down like that. I'm really starting to see how interconnected these elements are with our overall well-being.
It's a beautiful system, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. It gives us this really holistic way of understanding ourselves.
Okay, so I think we have a good basic understanding now of what doshas are and what the gunas are, and how
Yes.
they kind of manifest in different ways. But how do we actually use this understanding? How can we apply it to our lives in a practical way?
Well, now that we've got this foundation, we can start to look at how this knowledge translates into things like your diet.
Oh, okay.
Because, what you eat can actually balance or disrupt your doshas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so making choices that are in harmony with your constitution is super important.
That makes a lot of sense. So, we're going to be talking about diet in part 2 of our deep dive on Ayurveda.
We are. It's going to be good.
I'm really excited to learn more about that. Welcome back to our deep dive on Ayurveda. Last time we talked about what doshas are and how understanding your unique combination can help you lead a more balanced life.
Exactly.
And now we're going to get into how that translates to your diet.
That's right. We're going to see how we can apply this ancient wisdom to our plates.
Yeah, so it's not about following some restrictive diet plan, is it?
No, not at all.
It's more about understanding what nourishes you best based on your dosha.
Precisely. It's about finding that harmony between what you eat and your unique constitution.
I love that. So where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with Vata.
Okay.
Remember, Vata is characterized by air and space.
Right, that lightness and movement.
Yes, exactly. So to balance Vata, you want to favor foods that are grounding
Grounding, okay.
and warming.
Warming to counteract those airy qualities.
Exactly. Think about the qualities you want to bring in to create that balance.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
So if I were a Vata type,
Mm-hmm.
what would be a good example of a Vata pacifying meal?
Okay, great question.
Would a big salad with raw veggies be a good choice?
Well, a big raw salad might not be the best choice for Vata.
Oh.
Remember, Vata needs warmth and grounding,
Right.
so a cooked meal would be more ideal. Think about a hearty soup with lots of root vegetables
Ooh, that sounds good.
and warming spices like ginger and cinnamon.
Yeah.
That would be very nourishing for Vata.
So it's not just about eating healthy in general.
No,
It's about choosing foods that specifically address the qualities of your dominant dosha.
exactly. It's about understanding those gunas and how they interact with your constitution.
Okay, so we've got warming and grounding for Vata.
Yes.
What about Pitta? What kind of foods would help balance that fiery energy?
Okay, so Pitta is all about fire and water.
Right.
They have strong digestion,
Mm-hmm.
but they can also be prone to overheating.
Oh, I see.
So for Pitta, you'd want cooling and hydrating foods.
Cooling, hydrating.
Yeah, things that help pacify that internal fire.
Okay, so while Vata needs that warmth, Pitta needs to kind of chill out a bit.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance.
Makes sense. What are some examples of cooling foods that would be good for Pitta? I imagine spicy foods are off the menu.
You got it. Spicy foods are definitely something Pitta might want to avoid.
Okay, instead, think about cooling fruits like melons and cucumbers, sweet vegetables like zucchini,
That sounds refreshing.
and calming herbs like mint and cilantro.
Mm-hmm.
Coconut water is also excellent for Pitta.
Oh, yeah.
It's very cooling and hydrating.
Perfect.
Hmm.
So we've got warming and grounding for Vata,
Yes,
cooling and hydrating for Pitta.
that's right.
What about Kapha? What does a Kapha pacifying diet look like?
Okay, so Kapha is grounded in earth and water, which means they can be prone to feeling heavy or sluggish
Oh, okay.
if their Kapha is imbalanced.
Right.
They benefit from lighter foods that stimulate digestion,
Stimulate digestion.
okay, and prevent that buildup of heaviness.
So I'm guessing heavy, rich foods are not ideal for Kapha.
You got it. Those types of foods might exacerbate that heaviness.
Okay, so what kinds of food should Kapha focus on?
Well, they should incorporate plenty of cooked leafy greens, legumes like lentils, and warming spices like ginger and black pepper.
Oh, interesting. So still some warming spices, but lighter foods overall. Exactly. These foods are lighter, and they really help stoke Kapha's digestive fire.
I love how each dosha has such specific dietary needs.
It's amazing, isn't it? How this ancient system can be so personalized.
It really is. But it seems like we've only scratched the surface of what Ayurveda has to offer.
We have. There's so much more to explore.
Beyond diet, how else can we apply this understanding of doshas to our lives?
Well, Ayurveda is a holistic system. It's not just about the food we eat.
Right.
It's also about our minds and spirits
Okay.
and how they connect to our overall well-being.
Yeah.
So the next part, we're going to delve into how your dosha influences your lifestyle choices.
Exciting.
Things like exercise, daily routines, and even your mental well-being.
I can't wait to learn more. This is fascinating. Welcome back to our deep dive, everyone. We've been talking about how understanding your dosha can really help you create a more balanced life. We've covered diet, but what other aspects of well-being does Ayurveda address?
Well, Ayurveda looks at you as a whole person. It's not just about the physical body. Right. It's about the mind and spirit as well.
Right, yeah.
And just like with diet, your dosha offers some great insight into how you can create a lifestyle that really, truly supports you.
So it's not just about eating warm foods if you're a Vata. There's more to it.
Exactly. It's more holistic than that. It's about understanding the qualities of your dominant dosha and then making choices that harmonize with those qualities across all areas of your life.
So, for example, how does this apply to exercise?
Okay, great question. Let's look at Vata with its inherent lightness and movement. It really benefits from grounding and calming activities.
Okay, so for someone like me, who's got a lot of Vata, would hitting the treadmill for an intense workout be a good choice?
You know, while any movement is generally good, a really high-intensity workout might actually increase Vata's tendency to feel ungrounded or even anxious.
I see.
They would probably feel more balanced with more gentle forms of exercise like walking, yoga, or even Tai Chi.
Ah.
Okay, these practices really help calm the nervous system and promote a sense of stability.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Like a calming yoga session, I can already see how that would be more centering
Exactly.
than like a super intense workout.
Exactly, yeah.
What about Pitta? How would they approach exercise differently?
Well, Pittas thrive on challenge, right? They've got that competitive spirit.
Right.
So they usually do well with more vigorous exercise
Okay.
that allows them to channel that fiery energy.
So like competitive sports, high-intensity interval training, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got it. Those would be great options for Pitta.
Okay.
However, it's important for them to avoid overheating.
Right, because of that fire element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So incorporating activities like swimming or practicing in a cool environment can be really beneficial.
That makes sense. So Vata needs grounding, Pitta needs challenge but needs to stay cool. What about Kapha?
Yeah.
How can they best support their energy through movement?
Well, Kapha, remember, is grounded in earth and water.
Right.
So they tend to benefit from more invigorating activities that really get them moving and prevent stagnation.
Okay, so I'm picturing like brisk walking, hiking, maybe even dance classes.
Yeah, all great choices. Anything that really gets their heart rate up and helps them break a sweat will be supportive.
I'm really seeing how personalized this approach is.
It is. It is.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But beyond exercise, what other lifestyle factors are we looking at?
Ayurveda puts a lot of emphasis on dinacharya,
Dinacharya.
which is the daily routine.
Oh.
Having a consistent routine that aligns with your dosha can work wonders for your overall well-being.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice? What are some examples?
All right, so for Vata, who thrives on routine and predictability, going to bed and waking up at the same time each day is really grounding.
Okay, makes sense.
They can also benefit from incorporating calming activities, things like warm baths, oil massages,
That sounds lovely.
and meditation into their evening routine to help ease them into a restful sleep.
So really creating that sense of structure is important for Vata.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
What about Pitta? How can they structure their day?
Well, Pittas are naturally ambitious,
Right.
driven,
Yeah.
but they can also benefit from incorporating calming practices into their day
Okay.
to help prevent burnout.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness, and scheduling in some downtime are all essential for Pitta.
Okay, so Vata needs structure, Pitta needs to chill out.
Right.
What about Kapha? What does a Kapha routine look like?
Kapha benefits from a routine that is stimulating
Okay.
and helps them avoid getting stuck in a rut.
Right, yeah.
Waking up early, engaging in that invigorating exercise, and exposing themselves to new experiences are all great ways to stay energized and motivated.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It's amazing how this ancient knowledge can still be applied to our modern lives.
It really is, yeah. I'm with you on that.
In such a practical and personalized way.
It's amazing.
I'm excited to start incorporating some of these practices into my own life.
That's great. I hope you do.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of Ayurveda. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that will help you create a more balanced and fulfilling life. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.